In this video, I'm going to show you how to change a 2-port zone valve for one of these EPH valves. Now, these EPH valves are a direct replacement for the troublesome Honeywell 2-port zone valve. These are an absolute nightmare. We're going to swap that 2-port zone valve out for this EPH one. Now, that is controlling at the moment the underfloor heating. So every now and again, the motor's sticking on it. As you can see, it's a bit gone and it is red hot. Every now and again, the motor will stick on it and the underfloor heating will be calling for heat, but because that zone valve isn't opening up, it's not coming on. So we've got to take that out, get the wiring out, disconnect it, swap the head over. This one's a direct replacement, get it all back on, tested, done. Sounds easy? Give it a go. So we've got a typical jobbing job here on this toilet system. Now, it's a common one. We get it all the time where a customer will say the water is flushing down into the pan or constantly running it into the pan. So let me show you exactly what's up with this. So I've got the front panel off and took the button off it. So we'll push the button using this. And what the customer's done is put an elastic band hair grip sort of thing round the inlet. So if we take that off, quite a clever little idea actually. So we take that off, we'll see it filling up, and then once we push the button once, at the minute, because the plunger's down, it's obviously holding, but when this is filled up, we'll press the button and I'll show you what's happening. So you see water level there, shut off. If we replicate the button being pressed, and then lift the lid, it's constantly running through here. So that's telling us that the plunger isn't sitting down or seated in the cradle as it should. Let me show you. Take a look. What we'll do, we'll pop this back on. It's a clever little way of stopping it, to be honest. Hang on. That's what I've done. Right, let's give it another flush and we'll pop the valve out. So let's pop this out. So let me show you. Let's pretend the button's being pressed. See this plunger here? That should go up. When it's flushed, drop back down. So if we press that, it's just not dropping back down. So that is an ideal standard flush. Fortunately, I had one in my lockup. So let me show you just how it should work. So here's our replacement one. Let's push the button. Comes up, let go, goes down. There we go, look at that. So with it being a direct replacement to what we've taken out, it's just a case of clipping it in. Like so. Taking our elastic band off the fill. Giving it a test. Done. Let's push the button. Just let the valve drop down in there. There we go. Sorted. More little jobbing jobs. This is a shower. It's a thermostatic shower that is not regulating back down to cold. So I've just got here, had a look, and you can tell that's the on and off side. This is the thermostatic side, and there's literally a quarter turn on it. So it's not coming back to get cold. I just have had it on, tested it, got the dust sheet down on my Dusty Boys cover there, and I don't want to run it again, to be honest. I'm going to get the water off, but yeah, that's just not. Gets to this point here, you can feel the cartridge inside locking up. So we'll get the water off, disconnected there and there, disconnected there and there, get that swapped out. Right, that's the water draining down, and this is the replacement valve. I think, looking at the way it's designed and everything, probably from the same company, to be honest. So with the water off, we'll disconnect here and here, undo there, and pop that one off. Just let the water out. Good thing with these mats is water will just run round them. I'll put a link to the Dusty Boy mats in the description. They do the full ones that spread out, you know, 12 foot downstairs, but these are perfect for just being in showers because obviously the water will run out. Stood on here, it's nice and dry. And then we'll just slacken these off. And we'll just be able to get it off. There we go, easy as that. Disconnect it from there, took it from the two at the back first and then just dropped it off the bottom there. So get this one out of the way, pop it on there, and then we'll get the new one in. We've got a box with our washers. We've got a couple of washers down there, but we'll replace them with new washers and new gauzes to go onto there. But it's just easier screwing it back on there, screwing it on there, getting the water on. So we've got our two new washers there, so we will pop them into place like so. Then we can get that in. Now with them nuts holding it back on, I always do a little bit that side, a little bit that side, so it pulls it in pretty much flush. If you completely tighten one side, you can throw it off and then you struggle and you run the risk of cross threading one of the connections. So with that on, we'll tighten the rainfall on. Like so, and then reconnect the wand. Nip it up and get the water back on. As you can see, this side now turns all the way around. Perfect. Right, water's back on. Let's move this out of the way. Let's see how we're getting on. So we'll pop that out of there, turn it on. So before it was just red hot, it wouldn't go cold. So hopefully now turn it round to cold. So we'll turn it round to cold. Perfect. That round to hot on its hottest. Back round to hot. Press that button. Full heat. And back down to cold. Perfect. We'll just run that up. We're going to get wet. Every plumber will know. Run the rainfall with a valve at the back. You're going to get a soaking wet arm. But you've always got to test it, make sure it's alright. Yeah, that's perfect. There you go. See? Here you go, look. Always. Every time. Right, job done. Nice quick little valve change on them showers. Dead easy to do. Great little jobbing job. As long as you can match the shower up, that can match up because the customer sent a picture. Always get a picture. But yeah, easy enough swap. So this is one of the most common jobs that our jobbing plumber will get called out to, and I've been called out to it. So hopefully today we're going to be able to get it fixed. I don't see a problem how we shouldn't, but you never know with something like this. So we've got a 2-port zone valve that isn't working right. Let me show you. So we've got this 2-port zone valve here. Now this zone valve is controlling the underfloor heating. So when the stats outside get turned up and call for heat, it opens this zone valve, which will then trigger the boiler and obviously trigger the pump and the actuators and everything over there to work. The problem with this one is, if you look just here, you can see the arm. Now that keeps getting jammed, and it looks like on the top there's been some sort of water at some point. Also, this zone valve is really hot. Now, it's a Honeywell zone valve. There was a batch of Honeywell zone valves probably 2 or 3 years ago where the motors weren't quite what they should have been, and they play up all the time. So what I'm going to do is swap it out for an EPH C1P. This is a direct replacement. So all you do is take this head off, and this EHP one is a direct replacement. Leave the body in, leave the valve down so you don't have to drain the heating system down. It's just a case of taking that head off, putting this one on, connecting it back in, and you're good to go. Right, first of all though, this cable, there's quite a bit of flex on this. Sometimes, and I picked one up just in case, you can just cut that cable, put a joint box on it, which I bought just in case we need it, and then if ever there's an issue with the head, we can just unclip that. Whereas the EPH one comes with a clip that goes into the side. So I'll show you when we fit it, but hopefully we can take this front panel off, expose the junction box behind there, swap it out so that we can just push the cable back through, and hopefully keep it as neat as that, because this connector box hanging here, I mean, we could tuck it behind, but I just think they're a little bit bulky, so ideally I don't want to use that. But first of all, let's get the power off to the boiler, the junction box exposed, and see about changing this 2-port zone valve. So first off, let's get this off and see what we've got behind. There we go, got some wire in here. So with a bit of luck, this cable, yeah, will be going into there. So I think we're going to be able to just disconnect it from that wiring centre, if that's what you can call it, and put the direct replacement head on there. To start with, what we've got to do is get the power off to the boiler. So that's all the power off, everything there. You can hear the valves moving back in, because what we want to do is take this head off and replace it with the EPH one. Now what you've got to do is fit this bracket on there first. So first of all, we'll get this head off, screw underneath there, takes this cover off, and underneath the cover is the screws holding the actual head onto the body of the valve. So first of all, let's get this off. And then inside here, you'll see the screw here, just there. And then there's also another one just down here. So we get both of them unscrewed. And then the head will just come away from the body. He says, once he gets that screw out, like so, there you go. And then with this EPH adapter plate, goes straight back on to the body there with 2 little screws that are supplied. So you've got a hole in it there, obviously that goes over the actual actuator arm, and then the other one is a sighting locator for just inside the bottom of there. So that valve will sit on like so. So that will fit into there, that will fit into there, that valve will sit like that. And then so that's the plate into position. So then all we do now is make sure the actual valve is horizontal so it matches up with the bottom of this bit here. So if we pull our lever across and hold it into position, like so, that will make that horizontal. Let's put that out of the way for the moment, and then the valve just clips into place, and there's a little button on the side there if you need to release it. It just goes like that, done. And then just unrelease the head, and that is the valve fitted onto the actual body itself. All we've got to do now is wire that into our junction box, and this end connects into there. Job done. first of all, got to get the wiring sorted. With the old valve now up here, I've pulled the cable through and traced it back to this one, and behind this wall here it was labelled up underfloor heating, so we know that is for that valve that's not playing up. Obviously we've got to replace it for that. So this is the cable that's going to feed the new EPH one. What I'm going to do is feed this through that hole in through the back of the junction box and have it coming out exactly by the side of the cable that is currently running it. And then it's just a case of taking each wire out and wiring it straight in exactly how it's wired at the moment, and then we can clip the end connector in, power it up, and hopefully it'll be doing the same as what it's done before, but just working a lot better this time. So it's always a good way, if you can, is to just disconnect it, take the, for argument's sake, blue out, blue in, orange out, orange in. Just makes life a whole lot easier. And little tip for you, always take a picture of wiring before you take it out. It just say, if you're working on something and something gets pulled out, oh yeah, that went there, that went there. I've been caught out so many times going, I'm not the greatest at wiring, I never have been, I've never really done wiring breakdowns or anything like that, so I always take a picture. It just can save a lot of hassle. But we'll get this pushed in, poked back out and connected in. Right then, let's replace, like for like, this wiring. So first of all, we'll take out this one. Blue to blue. It's just such an easier way of doing it. Grey. So grey is sleeved. We'll pop that sleeving off, that one. Pop it on here. So much easier with where he goes, orange to orange. Right, there we go. That's all wired in now. What I'm going to do, push the old cable out of the way. That's the old valve out, pop that there. So that's the new EPH valve wired in now. All we've got to do is get that nice and neat, tuck that cable in behind there if we can. There we go. And then just connect it, done, clipped in. So power it on, and we should see the lights come on the front of here and the arm go across. There we go. There you go, you can see the arm pulling across now. What it will do. And heating system calling, pumps running, underfloor heating's running, boiler's fired up. As you can hear, valve's open, as we can see. If the valve wasn't open, it would be stuck there. You'd have to manually push it over and clip it there, but that's showing us that it's open. Underfloor heating's up and running. So let's go and check, make sure all the stats are calling, and then what we'll do, we'll turn all the stats off just to make sure this power's down, power's on, power's off. Exactly how it should do. Right, as you can see, this stat, you've got the flame on, so that's that one calling. This is the last one. So if we turn that down below our room temperature, that flame will cut out, like so, and then that will tell us, as you can see, power's gone off from the valve, that arm won't push across, and pumps off, heating system's off. So we turn them back on, make sure it's all right. It's basically running through the test to make sure it's powering on and off with that zone valve. So we turn all the stats back up, and then we can check that it's come back on. So it's all of them turned up now. Let's squeeze through. Yeah, power's back onto the zone valve, arms across, pumps running, calling, everywhere's good. So that's a perfect way to change a Honeywell 2-port zone valve that's playing up. Just get the EPH C1P, put the plate on, swap it over, wire it in, job done.